You just had a long, honest conversation with someone you love. And the second it ended, you wanted distance from them. Not because it went badly, not because you stopped caring, not because the feeling was fake. The call was good. You were there. You listened. You meant what you said. But now your phone lights up again. And instead of warmth, you feel weight. So you set it face down. You tell yourself, you will reply later. And to the other person that looks emotionally unavailable, inside you, it feels like one more demand, landing on a system that is already too full. That is the part people keep getting wrong about you. They see the pullback and assume the closeness meant less than it seemed. They think if you really love someone, if you really cared, you would want more contact after being close, not less. They think silence means disinterest. They think space means withdrawal. They think shorter replies mean fading feelings. But some of the people who need the most distance after closeness are not the people who feel the least. They are often the people who feel connection so deeply that they cannot stay open to it for too long without needing to recover. You know this feeling if you have ever had a beautiful conversation and still felt exhausted the moment it ended. If you have ever spent a full day with someone you genuinely like and come home unable to answer one more question. If you have ever seen a sweet message from someone you love and felt tired before you even opened it, not angry, not bored, not numb, tired, that is why this does not feel like coldness. When you are living it, it feels like overload. It feels like too much contact, too much access, too much emotional presence, without enough time to come back into yourself. What other people call distance often starts long before the silence. It starts in the body, in the heaviness, in the energy drop, in that immediate feeling that one more conversation is going to cost more than you have left. And once you notice that, the whole pattern starts to make more sense. First, there is closeness, a long call, several days of steady texting, time together that asks you to stay open, responsive, warm, available. Then something shifts. Your replies get shorter. You stop reaching first. You look at the message and think, I'll answer when I have more energy. Later becomes tonight. Tonight becomes tomorrow. Now you are not just drained. You are guilty too. So the silence gets heavier. And the story the other person tells themselves gets darker from their side. It looks simple. It looks like you pulled away. It looks like you went quiet. The second the relationship started to matter more, it looks like you wanted intimacy, until intimacy started asking for continuity. Sometimes they call that emotionally unavailable. Sometimes they call it avoidant. Sometimes they decide you just do not know how to love in a stable way. And the reason that cuts so deep is that part of you understands why it looks that way. You know your silence can wound people. You know disappearing without explanation leaves people confused. You know that needing space does not automatically erase the impact of how you take it. So now you are dealing with two things at once: the overload itself and the shame of knowing your way of coping can hurt people you never wanted to hurt. That is why this pattern can split you in half. One part of you wants the closeness. Another part wants the room empty. One part misses them. Another part feels relief. When plans get canceled, one part knows you care. Another part cannot make itself answer the phone. So you start asking the same question other people are already asking about you. Why do I need distance from people I love? The answer is usually not that you feel too little. It is that you stay emotionally open for too long. Some people move through contact like it costs almost nothing. They can talk, respond, reassure, check in, stay connected, and still have energy left. Then there are people who are internally active the entire time. They are reading tone, tracking shifts, choosing words carefully, staying considerate, staying emotionally available. They are not just having a conversation, they are managing themselves inside it. absorbing, regulating, holding. And when contact goes on long enough, the cost rises quietly. That is why even good connection can leave you depleted. Not because the person was wrong for you, not because the conversation was fake, because being emotionally reachable for a long time takes more out of you than most people can see. Your nervous system does not only react to conflict, it reacts to continuity, to repeated access, to the pressure of staying open, to the feeling that you are still on the hook for one more response, one more check-in, one more layer of emotional presence. A lot of people with this pattern did not learn it yesterday. They learned it much earlier, when closeness already meant work. They were the persons who kept the peace, the person who read the room fast, the person who noticed tension before anyone said a word, the person who stayed easy, useful, calm, and available, so nothing else would get worse. That kind of person grows up looking thoughtful, mature, sensitive, safe, but underneath that is often a nervous system that never learned to experience closeness. As simple, closeness came with responsibility, access came with labor, being needed came with pressure. So now, even when the person in front of you is good, even when the relationship is good, some part of your system still reads sustained closeness as something that will eventually ask too much of you. That is why being alone can feel like relief in a way that is hard to explain. Not because people are awful, not because love is fake, because aloneness is one of the only places where nothing is reaching into you. No one needs your tone. No one needs a response. No one needs reassurance right now. You do not have to stay open. You do not have to manage the emotional air. You do not have to keep a channel active. Your body can finally stand down. And that relief is real. But it has a shadow. The more distance becomes your only reliable way to recover, the more every relationship starts feeling dangerous. The second it becomes steady, a few days of contact starts to feel like too much. A deep call means you need a day off. A person wants continuity, and you start feeling trapped by the very thing that is supposed to make love feel safe. So now you are caught in the worst version of the pattern. You want closeness, but not constant access. You want to be loved, but not reached into too deeply, too continuously, too often. You want connection, but you do not want to feel used up by it. This is the deepest part of it. You do not hate people. You do not hate love. You do not hate closeness. You are tired of being emotionally reachable for too long. You are tired of your energy feeling like an open door. You pull back because too much contact starts to feel like erosion. That is what is really happening. By the time you go quiet, you are often not making some cold, calculated choice. You are trying to protect the last part of yourself, that still feels like yours. You are trying to stop the internal spillover before it turns into resentment, numbness, or collapse. What looks like emotional unavailability from the outside can be a nervous system trying not to get flooded. Distance can be regulation, not lack of love. Some people need space, not because connection means less to them, but because it affects them more deeply. That truth matters, because if you do not understand it, you will keep misnaming yourself. You will keep calling yourself detached when you are actually overloaded. You will keep calling yourself cold when you are actually depleted. You will keep thinking your need for distance proves you do not love deeply, when in many cases, it is happening because contact reaches you so deeply that you do not know how to stay in it without losing your balance. But this is also where the truth has to get sharper. Recovery and avoidance are not the same thing. A boundary and a wall are not the same thing. Being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. Space can help you return. Silence can also become a habit that slowly damages trust. If your need for distance keeps leaving people in confusion, fear, or emotional limbo, then it is not enough to say, This is just how I am. The pattern may be understandable. It is not automatically healthy. The work is not to stop needing space. The work is to stop turning space into disappearance. The work is to notice the overload earlier and name it before the shutdown happens. To say, I care about you, but I need a little time to come back into myself. To say, I'm overloaded right now, and I need a day to reset. To learn the difference between protecting your energy and abandoning the connection to build doors instead of only walls. Because the real goal is not endless availability. The goal is safe return. The goal is to stay connected without disappearing from yourself. To step back without making the other person invent a wound. To be honest enough that your need for recovery does not get mistaken for a lack of love. So if this is you, the behavior needs a more honest name. Not emotionally unavailable, not cold, not uncaring, overloaded, protective, deeply affected by connection. Trying to stay close without losing yourself. That does not make every retreat healthy. It does not erase the impact on other people, but it does tell the truth. More accurately than the label you have probably been carrying for years. What looks like distance is sometimes just a tired nervous system, asking for room before it breaks.